Hi, my name is Kevin Lisitzen, and I am a striving entrepreneur trying to run multiple businesses, to live a life worth living, and to be able to give back in ways that are unhuman. I mean, millions of dollars is what my goal is to give back to the community. And the reason why I'm doing this video is to be able to share how life creates who we are it doesn't matter the zip code you were raised in, it doesn't matter the shoes that you have on your feet, it doesn't matter the car that your parents dropped you off at school with or your grandma dropped you off at school with. Those things don't create who you are. And even though I am 42 years old today, sharing this message, what I will be at 62, I don't plan on being the same as now, as I didn't plan 20 years ago. And if I live my life today, I can encourage you to live your life today as though yesterday just created who you are, and it doesn't have to mold who you will become. It's a win. I've come from some struggling childhood to some amazing experiences as a child, to running a 419 mile, to being made fun of, being called tomato head. I had more zits on my face than they call me crater face. I remember that. Looking back now, it's funny actually, because I don't got a zit on me. But I look back at that and I'm just like, holy cow. When I went through it, I thought my life was ending. And yet, here I am, 25 years later, and none of that matters to who I am today. Really didn't matter then, but our worlds are just so small. So allow your world to be bigger. Allow who you are to be more than what you think you can do. Create in you something that is worth living. And nobody needs to know ever that you believe in yourself more than what other people are telling you you are or you're not. And allow that to be who creates you. It doesn't have to be the voices of people who don't understand you. And while you're listening to this story, I hope that you get a lot of that. I'm a normal human. I consider myself average. And I've just surrounded myself with like-minded people to help me create what I want, because I know it's what I deserve. And that is what I hope you get from watching this video. My family are extremely hardworking folks. My dad was the first generation born here in America. At the age of 16, my dad decided to create something better for his family, removed himself and moved to Manteca, where he washed cars, and started a family. Met my mom in Manteca. Right when they got married, they had me, started a family right away, and I have two other younger brothers. I absolutely love my dad. He is a mentor to me. He's somebody that I can trust, I can go to. He will give me great advice. I'm very fortunate to be able to say that. I completely understand not everyone has a father that can say that, and I'm very grateful for what I have in my family. And with that being said, I do recall coming home from 6th grade, and my mom and my dad, the couple days before that, told us kids that they were looking to buy a house, and they were really excited about this opportunity for the family. My father had done well with his job. He was a tow truck driver, and he had just gotten promoted. And so we had a cool stage that was gonna come, and come to find out the day that we were gonna go look at the house, I was really excited. I remember coming home, looking at my mom. All three of us were at the back door, and she looked at me and she was crying. My dad had gotten into a really bad car accident and he was in the hospital. So at that moment, everything changed for me instantaneously. From that point forward, I remember moving multiple times. I don't know how my brothers handled it. It's not something we've ever really talked about, because it was just something that we did. I didn't know any different. I really didn't know people stayed in one house as long as they stayed, because I never knew that. So it wasn't anything that I looked at and was upset about. I make friends fairly easily. Again, I don't believe it's affected me in any negative form outside of just realizing that that life puts things in front of us, even as young kids, puts things in front of us that are going to create who we are in the future. And because I lived in multiple zip codes, in multiple small communities, I got to experience a lot of things a lot of people don't experience. A lot of culture, a lot of love by neighbors, friendships of people that I even see 20 years later and they recognize me. And I find a lot of joy in that actually today. I tend to want to look at things on the bright side. I'm very optimistic, as you're probably already catching on to it. I honestly think it's a choice on how we respond to that. And it does not have to be a negative. Absolutely doesn't have to be a negative. The core of the family is more important than the structure you live in. I am also a strong believer, if you can live in that same structure and build community and have the same friends through high school, that creates you in a different form. And both forms are okay, and both forms will create an amazing human if you allow them to happen. So as I was in high school, I remember trying to play sports and I wasn't good enough. I remember my whole life I played baseball and I was really good shortstop, and I got into high school and I didn't make the cut. And I was like, ooh, that's a stinger. But at the same time, I was happy that I had tried out, and I tried, because I wasn't the only one that didn't make the team. There was just a really good baseball team at the high school I was going to. And so I was okay with that. And I knew the following year I'd get to try out for it, and I didn't. That was the last time I actually played any sort of sports in school. I remember leaving Clovis Unified and going up to another school district for a short time. And then my parents moving from that area down to another community just north here in Central California. And I remember my brother going to high school there. At the time, I wasn't too excited about going back to school. I was hoping to actually take independent study and finish my education there because I really liked working. And my went for a job interview, and the lady at Carl's Jr. said, "Hey, do you have your high school diploma?" And I said, "No, I'm still working on it. I'm gonna go to independent study." And she's like, "Stop you right here. The best thing you can do is go back to high school." That was the day after my brother had pretty much begged me to go to high school with him because he didn't know anybody. Again, we just moved to that school. So I went home, talked to my mom, said, "Hey, will you go down there and help me apply to this high school, and would like to do it." So the best decision I made as a young adult, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I remember sitting across from the superintendent at the time and him telling me, "Hey, Kevin, you're a little bit older. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to be 18, almost 19 when I graduate." And he said, "With what your credits you have, you're fine. We'll bring you on board. I just want these three things. You get a part-time job, no dating. I don't want to see you here messing around. And I want you to play a sport." I was like, ooh, a sport? I hadn't played a sport in a long time. So I said, "Well, what sports are out there?" And he said, he's like, "Well, you can play soccer or track and field." I go, "Track and field it is." So I ended up running for my high school, and that just became my outlet. I remember in the morning, even before school, just catching the running buzz, and I would go running around the neighborhood block, and it just became fun for me to run, and it was a great outlet. I started that school year off just at the low 8-minute mile and ended up leaving high school in the low 7s. I had just broken 7 minutes into 6 minutes just before I graduated high school, and that was awesome because I remember never thinking I would cross the stage. I didn't think I was smart enough, and I just didn't think it was going to happen. I was going along with it, but honestly, didn't think it was going to happen. And literally 2 weeks before school was over, they called me in the office and said I happened to be an actual half credit short to graduate. And I was all like, well, what do I need to do to make that go away? Because that isn't going to stop me. And he said, well, fill out this packet. And it was like 100 pages of work I needed to get done. So after track, after work, after normal school, I was spending time going through this packet and finishing it out. And as I was walking up the stage, or prior to going on stage, I turned in the paperwork. I got the note that I had turned it in, and then I got the following day, they had allowed me to go there on stage. Well, my name was circled because they didn't know if I was going to make it or not. So I remember looking up at the guy who was going to hand me my diploma, and he looked down. And he goes, "Are you Kevin?" And I go, "Yes." He's like, "Good job." And I remember getting the diploma, walking across the stage, and I started crying. I mean, I was in tears. There were people out there cheering for me. They knew, some of my friends, my parents' friends knew they were there cheering me on. It was a big deal to graduate high school in my family. And so I was excited about that. And it was a good experience for me. I did go to junior college, and that was also a part of my life that was really exhilarating. When I ended up graduating high school, that following year, I joined the track team at the local junior college. And again, I wasn't fast enough to make their team. However, the coach was really encouraging to me being able to train with his team. So I went out there and trained with them. Again, I was going to school full time. I was working at the time full time, and I was not wanting to give up on this passion I had. And it was that year, at the end of that year, I not only broke the 6-minute mile in that summer, the 5-minute mile. That year, I had ran a 4:19 mile, and that for me was quite an accomplishment that I know created who I am today. My competitiveness, my edge it's like very few, and it has helped me to become successful and believe in myself. It has helped me to see challenges as opportunities and to really strive forward, and it has put me, I believe, where the Kevin today is because of how Kevin lived his life in those years. For the following 5 years, from 1999 to 2004, 2005 almost, I volunteered at the local juvenile hall, and I was not a chaplain there. I was, though, just a mentor to the kids that were there, and got to share all those experiences around all those stories I had of my childhood kept coming up on these seminal conversations with these kids in juvenile hall. And I had the opportunity to relate and to respond and to encourage and to motivate these young kids. And 5 years after that, I remember now I'm married, sitting at a breakfast house, and a kid came up to me and said, "Kevin, thank you." I didn't know who he was. And he said, "You won't know me because you probably have talked to so many kids, but you spoke to me. And I just got accepted to play basketball at Humboldt College." And it blew me away because I got to see how my past experiences created something in me that washed away any negativity, because I started to apply and make myself vulnerable to just humans. And I would never take that back. I don't know where he's at. I don't know what he's doing. To me, just knowing that I had these experiences in my life that created who I am, and then I then poured that into somebody else, and somebody's life is different or better for that, how bad could my experiences have been when I'm still alive and I get to share it? If I was to go back in time and speak to the younger Kevin, it's going to be okay. Your mom and your dad are going to fight for you. The people in your life, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncle, even the role models in your life will change, and you're going to be okay.